Rockstar released some crazy money bonuses this week in GTA Online, so in today's video, we will be using those and others to make $10 million in under 24 hours. So for this week of GTA Online, Rockstar in essence made MC businesses quadruple money and the Acid Lab 1.5 times money. Now, in Friday's episode, I realized that we could be making tons of money if we use all of these businesses together, because they are partially passive income businesses. And if we were to mix in something like the Cayo Perico heist, we could make tons of money very quick. But before getting into the main money grind, I first had to make sure that my nightclub was all set up. So of course, we normally have 5 technicians assigned to 5 different businesses that make us about $50,000 in passive income every single hour. As well as I make sure to keep my nightclub popularity maxed out so that we earn 50K through the wall safe. If you guys don't know, the way the nightclub works is you essentially hire technicians and assign them to source certain types of product. And once they source that product, you could then sell that on for a profit. Now there's 7 different ones you could do, but there are 5 that are the best, that make you the most amount of money. The only trick with the nightclub is that in order to assign a technician to one of these businesses, you will have to own a corresponding business in the game. So with that being said, the 5 best businesses to assign them to is first cargo and shipments, which will require you to have either a CEO cargo crate warehouse or a hangar. The second is sporting goods, which will require you to own a bunker. The third is South American imports, which requires you to have a Coca-Cola lockup. The fourth is pharmaceutical research, which of course requires you to have the Blue Stuff Lab. And the final one is cash creation, which requires you to have a counterfeit cash factory. If you have all 5 of those working, it makes you 50K an hour. But in our case, a few of them were maxed out, so we switched one over to organic produce. So now that we had the technicians and popularity set up, it was now time to go around to our different MC businesses and resupply them so that the supplies were making us money while doing the Cayo Perico heist. Now, if you guys don't know, the way these MC businesses work is you essentially purchase or steal supplies. Those supplies over time are then made into product, which you get later on sell for a profit. There's 5 different in total, but the 4 I would focus on, and I have to change the names for monetization, is the Coca-Cola lockup, the Blue Stuff Lab, the counterfeit cash factory, and the grass farm. Those are the 4 best ones to get. The businesses are actually currently on discount as well, so it's a great time to pick them up. And of course, you'll need to own a MC Clubhouse before picking these up. Now, each business will also have 3 different upgrades you could buy, and I personally always buy the equipment and staff upgrade because it will make us more valuable product faster. And it allows me to purchase supplies for 75K instead of stealing supplies and still be profitable, which will allow us to save some time. So like I said, I'm focusing on those 4 businesses, and I made sure to buy supplies for all 4 before getting into the Cayo Perico heist. So for the first Cayo Perico heist, I did it the usual way, and our primary target was the bearer bonds. Now, the usual way is we go through the main dock, use the long fin, first head over to the airport hangar, loot the hangar, and then go through the drainage tunnel in the compound to eventually steal the primary target and leave off the side of the island. This is a pretty quick way to do it. The whole heist in total took us 1 hour, and we made just under $1.5 million, which is pretty good considering we weren't using hard mode or didn't have hard mode activated. Of course, we did get the elite challenge, which was an additional 50K, but that was a great way to start off the money grind. Next up, we did a few MC business sell missions. Now, of course, I always sell in invite-only lobbies because I want to avoid griefers. If you guys are trying to do these in public lobbies, be careful because you're most likely going to have multiple sell vehicles, and when there's other people in the lobbies that can blow up your product while you're not in close proximity to it, that creates a serious issue. So I always sell in an invite-only lobby. Trying to get any kind of money bonus is just not worth it. So the first business we ended up doing a sell mission for was the counterfeit cash factory. Now, some of these businesses already had some stock from Friday's video. If you guys watched that, you guys know what I'm talking about. But the first cash sale was for $367,500, and we got very lucky on this one because we got the best sell mission, and that is getting the one van that has 1 drop-off location. So This sell mission took us 5 minutes, and of course, in order to make this much product, we spent 75K on supplies, so it was pretty cheap, good profit, time to move on to the next business. The second business we did was the grass farm. Now, we just had the easiest mission, now we had the hardest sell mission because we had the UPS vans, or the postal ops vans in GTA 5. Now, if you guys don't know, this is by far the worst sell mission because they are very, very slow, and you have to deliver 5 different packages at 5 different locations for each one of these vans. Now, we also have the cheapest grass farm that we can buy, which means that we were located way up at the northwest part of the map, so getting down to the city took forever. We did end up completing it for $299,000, but it did take us just about the full 30 minutes. So far everything was going okay, but something then happened that made things a bit problematic, and we're going to talk about this here in a second. What happened was the Coca-Cola lockup was getting raided. Now, if you guys don't know what this is, when you have an MC business and when you are currently a motorcycle club president, there can be gangs that come and try to take your product or shut down your business. And that happened with the Coca-Cola lockup. Now, there was a few times over the past couple days that I was wondering why my Coca-Cola lockup stock seemed to be less than it should have been, and I realized that is what happened. Now, oftentimes, it's the same business that gets raided over and over and over again. So this was a sign for me. As soon as I got the mission or the notification that there was someone doing a raid on our business, I made sure to head over there, took care of the mission, and brought the product back that we needed. Now, these types of missions can be somewhat avoided for your businesses if you purchase the security upgrades, but the easiest way to get rid of it is to just disband as an MC president if you aren't doing a sell mission, because you don't necessarily need to be an MC president while not doing these sell missions. So for the rest of this video, I constantly made sure to disband as an MC president whenever I didn't need to be an active one. But with that being said, we then moved on to the Blue Stuff Lab, which we did a sell mission for. It took us 20 minutes and we sold $401,000 worth of product. Now, we ended up getting the second slowest mission, which is the garbage trucks, but we got relatively lucky because the Blue Stuff Lab is one of the closest businesses to Los Santos. So when we sold to Los Santos, we actually got away with it. Now, these trucks aren't as slow as the postal op vans, but they do require you to drop off 5 deliveries, which can be problematic if you are really far away from the city. But luckily we weren't, so we got it done. With that, we then went on to sell the final business, which was the Coca-Cola lockup for $525,000. And at this point, we were on a roll because when I went to go sell each business, I also made sure to purchase more supplies. So with that, everything was moving pretty smooth. So I then went on to sell the Acid Lab for $502,000. It only took us 10 minutes to do, but of course, because it's 1.5 times money this week, we want to make sure that we can maximize how much we earn from this business. So that was a great bit of money to earn. And finally, to wrap up the first portion of the money grind, we went and did another MC sell mission for the counterfeit cash business, because at this point, the time that we had spent doing all these other MC sell missions, all the stock had turned into product. So with that, we ended up selling $403,000 worth of product in 10 minutes because we got the boat mission, which is one of the easier sell missions for the MC businesses. You essentially have a couple dinghies, you drive to different locations, you don't even have to press a button to drop it off, it auto drops it off, and you move on to the next one. And there is a slight money bonus for doing it in a certain period of time, which is really easy to achieve. So we made great money with that. And luckily in this video, we ended up doing one of every different kind of MC sell mission. So I will be touching on each as we go through. Now, all of these were done in just a few hours, and I actually started this process on Friday night. This was day 1 of the money grind, and I always suggest doing that, split up your money grind between a few days, but it's all within 24 hours, which is awesome. So to wrap up this first day of the money grind, we did a second Cayo Perico heist because at this point it had been 2.5 hours. The cooldown as a solo player was over, so we got into it and we activated hard mode because we started up the heist within 48 minutes of the cooldown ending. This time we got bearer bonds, and you'll see that we had a fairly decent take, and that is because when we're playing on hard mode, all loot has a 10% bonus in price, so we're making more money. And when you complete the elite challenge, we're also making 100k instead of 50k as a bonus, which is great. So the second Cayo Perico heist, it took us 1 hour to do. We did it in our usual way, and we made $1.6 million, which is great. So tons of money. So far on day one, we'd made about $6 million, which is insane. It did not take us long, just maybe 4 hours or so. So with that, day two came around. This was Saturday morning, and I had a realization overnight that I was doing a few things wrong on Friday, and that was I was selling too much of the MC product. I was selling too frequently, rather. And the reason why I was doing that was because I was worried about getting too many sell vehicles for sell missions. But it dawned on me. In the past, I've been able to do the helicopter mission with 2 helicopters in like 15 minutes. So what's to say that I couldn't do 3 in under 30 minutes, which is the max amount of vehicles you could get is 3. Unless you have the motorcycles, that's 4. But we'll talk about those later. So I realized, why don't I just wait until my businesses are completely full and then sell them instead of doing multiple smaller sell missions. Now, of course, in order to make these solo sell missions possible, you do have to have an oppressor or a sparrow in order to get around the map quickly, but we already have that, so we thought might as well give it a try. So with that being said, the first thing I did on day 2 was I went over to the arcade, went over to the master control terminal, and I resupplied all of our MC businesses from there to make it simple and quick. From there, we then went on to do a Cayo Perico heist. Now, this one was our lowest paying heist because we got the tequila. But once again, it only took us 1 hour to complete. We did it our normal way and made just under $1.4 million. Now, at this point, we wanted to sell the MC businesses, but they do take some time to get through each batch of supplies. And I should mention at this point that the Coca-Cola takes 1 hour to get through one batch of supplies. The blue stuff takes an hour and 15 minutes to get through one batch of supplies. The green stuff takes an hour and 40 minutes to get through one batch of supplies. And cash takes an hour and 20 minutes. So we knew that the first hour was taken up by the Cayo Perico heist, but we of course needed to do some more stuff because the Cayo Perico heist only took us 1 hour. So in the meantime, we did the nightclub sale mission. Now at this point, we'd built up quite a bit of stock, about 1.1, I think it was $1.15 million, which is a lot. Now, if you guys don't know, if you do sell this stock in a public lobby with 25 or more people, you'll also get a 50% bonus. And because the nightclub sale mission is always guaranteed to give you 1 vehicle, I thought I might as well go for it. And this was a risky move for sure, but it paid off. We went into a public session with 25 or more people. I loaded up the sell mission and we went into it. But of course, the first thing I did was I went over to the CEO abilities in my interaction menu and hovered over Ghost Organization, which when you activate it, it takes you and your stock off of the map for 3 minutes. So I was hovering over it. I didn't use it right away, but I knew if anybody was going to try to grief me, this would be one of the trump cards I could use to try to get away from these people. So as we were going, the first portion of the trip was really smooth sailing. Getting through the city was very easy. There seemed to be nobody who was really bothering anybody. I made sure to check that beforehand actually. But once we got on the highway and we were about halfway down the highway, someone was coming directly towards us. Now, of course, this could have been a completely peaceful person, but considering we had potentially $1.6 million worth of stock, I decided to use Ghost Organization, which I thought was the right decision at the time. It could have been the right decision. Maybe we wasted 12 grand. I don't know. I don't care, to be honest, because we went on to sell all of our products successfully and we took home $1.588 million. Now, of course, Tony always takes a 10% cut, but his cut is maxed out at 100K, which means that because we sold over $1 million, everything past $1 million was pure profit. So that's how we got to that number. And that was a great haul to take home, considering all of the money that was produced with the nightclub was completely passive. We didn't have to buy supplies. We didn't have to do any setup missions, anything like that. This was all technicians sourcing us goods, which is why the nightclub is by far one of the best solo businesses, or just businesses in general, in the game. But with everything that's good comes a little bit of bad. And just like in Friday's video, I realized the flaws in the location of our current nightclub, which was down at Elysian Island, and I realized we had to move it. So I bit the bullet and I spent a few $1,000,000 to purchase a different nightclub up in the north part of Los Santos, closer to the highway, so that the next time we do these massive cell missions, instead of having to drive through the city just to get to the north part of the city, we could just start right from there, get right onto the highway, which is right next to it, and take it to our destination to make these missions quicker and lower the percentage chance that we would be griefed or messed with. Now, of course, I did have to repurchase equipment and staff, but everything else stayed the same, which was great and made things easy. Now, after the cell mission, I took a bit of time just to chill out, touch some grass, but I made sure to stay in the game so that the MC businesses were still earning money or producing product from supplies, so that by the time we got back, our MC businesses were either completely full or almost full. So with that, the first cell mission we did was the grass business for $630,000, which is crazy. Now, luckily for us, this mission only took 25 minutes to complete because we got the planes for drop-off vehicles. Now, of course, each plane carries 5 different packages that we have to drop off, but for the most part, they fly over land, so it's a lot quicker. You don't have to worry about roads and slopes and slow vehicles. So it made things pretty easy. Now, of course, with the planes, you have to stay at a low altitude, so it takes a little bit longer than some of the other easier cell missions, but for the most part, it's pretty simple, and we got that done pretty quickly. Now, of course, one of the biggest helps with this was the fact that we had our oppressor, because once I had dropped off the 5th package for any of the planes, I would then hop out of the plane, let myself be killed or destroy the plane, get to a road, and then grab the oppressor to head back to the airfield to pick up the next plane. So that whole process was fairly easy, and I thought, let's go for round 2. Let's do a blue stuff cell mission, which we did. It wasn't completely full. The business wasn't completely full, but we sold it for $758,000. This time it only took us 20 minutes because we got the helicopters as delivery vehicles, which don't have a height limit for flying, so you could fly as high as you want. It makes things easier. You could have a more direct line to each of your drop-off. So 20 minutes for that. And then we went on to do a cell mission for the counterfeit cash factory, but there was a slight caveat because we got one of the garbage truck missions. Now, I wanted to give you guys an example of what happens if you were to load up the mission, realize you get vehicles you don't want, and exit out. So that's exactly what we did. We got into the mission. I started driving one of the dump trucks or one of the garbage trucks, realized, screw this, I'm not going to do it. This is going to take too long. And all I did was load into a new invite-only lobby, came back, and you'll notice that the amount of stock that we lost was so minimal. So theoretically, if you wanted to do this a few times to make sure you get a more optimal cell mission to reduce the amount of time and stress you have for it, that's completely possible. You're going to lose some money each time, but at the end of the day, it's very small. But like I said, we were already past the $10 million mark, so I didn't do another cash sale. Instead, we did a final sale for the Coca-Cola lockup for $945,000. Now, this time we got the final type of cell mission you could get, which is motorcycles. You have to deliver one motorcycle into one of these trucks that are around the map. Now, if you have less stock, sometimes you'll get 1, 2, 3, but if you have almost maxed out or maxed out stock, you will get 4 motorcycles, which is what we got. And because we got 4 different ones, it took us 25 minutes to complete the mission, but at the end of the day, it was very easy, very straightforward, and it wasn't a big waste of time because we made almost $1 million from that one cell mission. And finally, the last thing for the money grind was we picked up 100 grand from the wall safe in our nightclub just to say that we could have around $10 million in cash for the video. Now in total for this video, we earned $11,226,000, which is crazy. And get this, in active grinding, active time, it took just over 6 hours. Now, of course, there was some periods of passive grinding, which was just staying AFK so that the MC businesses could build up stock. But in actual gameplay, it was like just over 6 hours, which is crazy. This much money in this little time rarely happens in this game. So if you guys haven't taken advantage of it yet, I highly suggest doing so. As for the $10 million that we made, we're going to do something new. I want you guys to drop in the comment section down below, what do you want me to spend it on in the next episode of the series? With that being said, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.